have no respect anyone. No respect.
Really?
Yeah, no respect. And then you come about everyone.
Did you scream?
You know what? Yeah, I was in the
Dude, check out that place.
It's a restart, man. I'm struggling with my bolt tires. Do it properly. Don't do it like this. That's dirty driving.
Man, I'm really sorry what happened. I honestly thought he had a problem. My bad. Like, I feel bad. I mean, man, I don't like to be raced like that. I'm surprised I didn't get a penalty. Well, he should be angry. Man, I'd be the same.
Spirited competition, to say the least. That was a couple of weeks ago at the 40th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, good friends. Now, probably even better rivals. It's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. You can see things are starting to dry up here in Birmingham, Alabama at the Barber Motorsports Park. Time now to welcome into the Nbcsn booth Mr. Derek Walker, who is the President of Operations and Competition. What's the state of play? Where are we at?
Well, it's clearing fast. We're cautiously optimistic around 4:15, 4:30 latest. We can get the race underway. The biggest problem is a few puddling in some of the corners. There's been water build up there. So the lightning looks like it's easing off. The guys will get out, sweep it off. Hopefully we can go green.
Hey, Derek, the things you've got to kind of clear the water, we've been looking at on the monitor. One of them looks like kind of a new invention, and it's really getting the water. Is that something that IndyCar's come up with, or did the Alabama track have it?
Oh, it's way too good an idea for IndyCar. Come on, Robin. No, seriously, the folks here at Barber run a really first-class operation, and this is all a full credit to them. They've got some great equipment here, and there are people that are jumping on it and really moving water, a lot of it.
Is the toughest thing you got to get this in tonight because of everything that's going on at the Speedway, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this week?
Well, there's still a lot of fans hanging in there wanting to see a race, and we want to see a race because, you know, we're going into Indy, the road course there, so we've got a lot of work ahead, so we really want to get the race in. The promoter wants to get the race in, so we're going to do whatever it takes to get it going.
And Derek, earlier in our show, we had a discussion with Townsend Bell and Wally Dallenbach, and a lot of us within the IndyCar community have been talking about 2 weeks ago in Long Beach and about the stiff competition, the confrontations, the little bit of controversy. Where are we at, so the fans know and so the drivers know? How are things going to be ruled with the race stewards, and you know, where are we at with that?
Well, there's been a lot spoken about, like as if we've changed the rules dramatically. That's not really the case. I mean, you haven't got a license to punt your fellow teammate out or anybody else off the racetrack. There was a lot of situations happened at that event which, you know, we've said to the teams, if you really want to sit down with us and we'll fully explain the rationale of how we decided those decisions, we'll gladly do that. But, you know, we're here in Barber. It's about Barber, isn't it, about Long Beach. But all I'll say is, you know, we have a different system this year. There's 3 independent stewards that look at these things, and collectively they come up with a vote. The majority carries, and they looked at every one of those things, and that's what we ended up with. So, you know, I think it was the best we could do.
You know, you used to manage Pagenaud and Will Power before that you became a big official and stuff. You think they'll be buddies anymore?
Oh, yeah, they were rivals back when they drove for me, and I think they're always going to be that way. You know, they butt heads like every driver who's in tough competition, but they're underneath it all. They have a lot of respect for each other, I think.
You have been in motorsport for a very, very long time, whether it be open wheel, whether it be sports cars. Before you took on your official role with the IndyCar series, you were involved with Ed Carpenter Racing. You were the team manager, general manager, I should say. Taking your IndyCar hat off for a moment, you must be immensely proud of that organisation for what they've achieved and getting their first win the way they did there. As Ed sitting on the timing box, and he told me that was incredibly nerve-wracking. You've experienced it for a long time, but that was the first for him. Well,
that's a really nice story about Ed Carpenter Racing. You know, it's a small team, it's building, and Ed makes a really courageous move. Not many drivers get out of the cockpit willingly, but he saw where the future was for the team, and he stepped out, and it paid off. So full credit to them. You know, it really is a nice result.
Derek, we're talking about, we're looking at Long Beach here, and when you see when you were running with Ed, and you said, look, you've made a lot of strides, but it really you kind of suggested first to him, maybe we should put somebody in here that's a full-time road racer. I think big props to him for finally just putting his ego aside and saying, yeah, let's make this team better.
Yeah, no, and full credit to Ed. prior to jumping out of the car, he was doing a heck of a job working on his road race setup. You know, he was really working on his technique and made some big gains. But, you know, it's a small team. It's all about winning. And he's out there selling in the marketplace. And he took a step back and said, you know, I'm probably going to be able to sell this team if I can win races on a road course and an oval. So I'll get a guy in there who can do it quicker than maybe I can. And that's what happened. Mr. Conway did a hell of a ride.
Your business is watching and managing and guiding and directing the competition. And it's easy for all of us to sit back and say, talk about the Dixons and the Canans or the Castro Nevises and the Powers. But are you as impressed as we are with the crop of rookies this year?
Oh, they're doing a fantastic job. It's not only the rookies, but with the smaller teams that are doing amazing work. And I look at it and I say, well, you know, if I was a bigger team with the resources, I'd begin to wonder, maybe some of these rookies are worth looking at. You know, maybe we should be grabbing a rookie. It's not all bad. You can really make some progress with these guys. But they're all doing a fantastic job, and that's that's the future. So we need it.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll see one of those young rookies score a victory this year, their first victory. Somebody who got their first win in the IndyCar Series last year was Charlie Kimball. He's with Kelly.
And Lee, that win at Mid-Ohio certainly did not come after, or came after quite a bit of adversity for Charlie Kimball. He could be facing a similar situation again today. In morning warm-up, Charlie, you had an incident, went off track, quite a bit of damage. This team has had to switch to your backup car. That's the silver lining of this rain delay. It's given them extra time and you time to get comfortable in that seat. But knowing that at Mid-Ohio you were able to come back in your backup car and ultimately win that race, how much confidence does that give you for today as we revisit what happened here in Mid-Ohio?
Well, it's obviously not the formula we want to have to go and try and win another race. I feel badly having done it to these guys again and gone off this morning, but if there's one team in the business that can get it done, it's Chip Ganassi Racing. These guys are the best in the business. I have no doubts getting in the race car to start the race, even after the rain delay, that we'll go out there and have a competitive car and have a shot to move up from where we're starting and get a good result and try and start our season from here.
What was it that caught you out this morning? I know you guys have been trying to make some changes to the car.
Yeah, I think we maybe went a little far overnight with the setup. Got a little caught out with the cool conditions, the full tanks. They just kind of all collected, and you know, I'm not worried about it happening again. I know that we've got the car a little more dialed in for both the primaries and the alternate Firestones. You know, I'm looking forward to the race start.
What is it like, though, as a driver to get into a car for the first time, just moments before the start of the race, that this isn't the car you've been racing all weekend?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. The guys do such a good job back at the shop that when I climb in the number 83, it's going to feel just like the other number 83. So I'm not worried about it at all. Like I said, the guys put so much effort in back at the shop that when we get to the racetrack, we don't even have to worry about that sort of stuff.
All right, well, how do you like running in the rain?
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks.
Good sign, isn't it? Looking good. Not too far away. We're hoping at the bottom of the hour we will get the command to begin things here at Barber Motorsports Park. But Kevin, who do you have?
I've got Michael Andretti, a guy that feels very optimistic about today. He's got 4 drivers starting in the top 9 with the starting positions, and as good as the cars have been, you would probably have preferred just a more straightforward dry race.
Yeah, because when you have these conditions, you never know what's going to happen. It could be crazy, especially I think the first stint, it'll be pretty crazy, and then it'll turn into a normal race after that. So hopefully we survive that with the 4 cars, and you know, hopefully one of them comes home.
As a strategist, is this one of your toughest challenges and toughest days, knowing when to put the slicks on? And if you go too early, that's bad news.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a thing, especially here because you got the rivers, you know, that there's a lot of running water. So it's going to be a tough one. You know, it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be the driver's call, but also we have to be watching what the competition is doing. And I think the other thing we have to be concerned with is, you know, if somebody spins off, the yellow comes out, now you're going to the end of the line because of the closing of the pits. So there's all kinds of things we have to look at. So it's going to be interesting.
We saw at Long Beach 2 of your drivers impacted with contact, as has been pointed out. Ryan Hunter-Reay did not make a move on a teammate, so it's a different circumstance, but they're all close together. What's the general philosophy in taking care of each other?
You just said it. They got to take care of each other, and you know they do. I mean, I don't see them doing anything to put each other in danger, and if they do, it wasn't done on purpose, I can assure you. But you know, it's always a worry. You know, we've had it already. We've had starts where our cars are up front and 3 or 4 of them are taken out in the first turn. So, you know, we always hold our breath for that first lap.
All right, that's Michael Andretti. Over to Jan.
And with Roger Penske, we're talking strategy first with Michael Andretti. Now with Roger Penske, you're going to make the calls for Elio today. You love to call races. You love the strategy. Is this a perfect scenario to take a big risk?
Well, I think today it's going to see how this track is with the wet conditions. We're all starting on wet tires, which I think is good, so we're starting with a level playing field. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of downforce people run in the race. It's going to dry up, and we'll see what happens. You know, early pit stops, I think they're going to shorten the race, I understand. So there'll be a lot of things we'll deal with today.
Now, for you and your organization, of course, you're on a roll, having won last night. Does that kind of carry in with the morale for what's happening today?
Well, this race, we take each race each day. Obviously, last night was terrific with Brad and Joey winning that race down at Richmond. But Will on the pole here is a good moment for us. And we see Montoya, the job he's doing. Of course, Elio obviously has been terrific.
All right, well, enjoy the challenge. It's going to be a good one today. Thank you, Roger.
And you may have noticed there Roger Penske alluding to the race being shortened. Yes, we have just received word that it will be a 1 hour, 40-minute timed race. Now, in the past, there's only been 4 years of history here at Barber Motorsports Park, and of course, cautions affect things time-wise. We've had anything from 1 hour 45 through to 2 hours and a quarter. So, but this will be fixed at a time due to the day we've had weather-wise and light-wise. And programming-wise, so it will be 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's a guaranteed duration for the third round of the Verizon IndyCar Series. This is the Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. Here come the top 3. Joseph Newgarden comes out in front. Can he maintain it?
Tunnel Ray to the inside.
No! 3 of them get taken out. Oh! Can you believe what you've just seen?
It was a rookie move. Patience is a virtue, and someone wasn't very virtuous today.
Whoever started that, I would say it wasn't a smart move, especially in that corner.
I didn't expect anything like that in 4. There's no situation where it even works.
When the checkered flag flew on the 40th Long Beach Grand Prix, Mike Conway stole the show. But the attention slid Ryan Hunter-Reay's way for instigating a messy moment at the front.
A racing driver, when he's in the moment and he sees a chance to go for it, I went for it because I want to win the race.
RHR then felt the wrath of many drivers, including his own teammate. Here in Alabama, the 2012 Series champion looks to redeem himself on a course where he has memories of a better style. The 2014 Verizon IndyCar Series enjoys its first road course of the year. Off the back of 2 city street courses, this is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. Round 3 of 18. Marco Andretti yet to win on this track. Can he notch up a victory here? It would be crucial for him to get things rolling. And what about the defending winner, the 2012 Series champion, Ryan Hunter-Reay? He's ready to roll. Last year was as near to perfect as you could get. From pole position to standing on the top step of the podium. He's got very happy memories here. So too does Helio Castroneves. Really good stuff. He won here in the inaugural year in 2010. And he's had a pole as well. He feels strongly about this Alabama circuit and is ready to continue things in a positive manner because he sits 4th in the championship at the moment. His teammate there in the number 12 Verizon machine leads the way. And you can hear the engines firing. Remember Robin Miller's report a little earlier, if you were with us, the IndyCar officials are going to give the 23 drivers just a little extra time to get set, to feel comfortable, and just to feel and see the conditions. Kevin?
Well, it has been a miserable start to the season for James Hinchcliffe. He is 22nd in the championship, but he has been fast, and he's been fast all weekend, starting second. Now, he does have Will Power to contend with there on the other side. We go back to someone who has not won yet. Last year, we had 4 first-time winners. 17 of the 23 have won. If you're going to pick a first-time winner, it might be this guy right here, Joseph Newgarden, Jan.
And Kevin, of course, Scott Dixon is fired up, ready to go. And we know that rain is the great equalizer. But we also know that Scott Dixon is known as the Iceman. He knows that the start of this race, when it's slick, He's got to protect the car, got to stay out of trouble, and then let the racetrack come to him. Kelly?
Schmidt-Peterson teammates Simon Pagenaud and Michael Aloshin will start 10th and 11th respectively. The Frenchman actually had the fastest lap in qualifying. Although it came in round 1, he still thinks he has a good shot to win starting in the top 10. For his rookie teammate, it was the first time he advanced to the second round of qualifying. Not prepared for the rolling start at St. Pete and is determined not to lose any positions when the green flag drops today, Robin.
Kelly, 2013 Indy 500 runner Tony Kanaan started 33rd at Indy in 2010, finished 11th. He started 17th at Baltimore a couple years ago and finished 3rd, but it's been a long time since he's been this far back. He's the master of the fast start. He's the master of the overtake. He's going to need it today because this team's got a long way to go.
And this is our first good look here with cars on track and just where those sitting water spots are on the track. Now, the two-seater out on track. Martin Plowman is behind the wheel of the machine. And what a ride. Now, Honda's bringing back the fastest seat in sports sweepstakes, and you can enter by logging on to shophonda.com. And the special guest today is Adam James. You can experience what Adam is doing right along right now. Adam, how is it?
Oh, this is an incredible ride. This is definitely an experience of a lifetime. I just like to thank Honda.
And a little bit of technical issue there, and that's kind of a little bit understandable with the afternoon that we have had weather-wise. Just a reminder, log on to shophonda.com and you could have the opportunity that Adam has today by starting a Verizon IndyCar Series race. And the sweepstakes begins May 1st and ends August 6th. No purchase necessary. That is a little bit of an extra special ride, isn't it?
No question. I'm looking at Martin Plowman. Now, he's a current IndyCar driver. He'll be racing for AJ Foyt Racing at the Indianapolis Grand Prix and at the 500. Normally, it's a retired guy, Wally. I'm thinking Martin might want to just have a go here with the green flag, see what he can do.
I don't know. See that water running across the racetrack right there?
Yeah.
That's the stuff that Martin would be concerned about and the rest of these guys. That's the thing where if there's running water or there's water that's seeping across the racetrack that plays havoc on an IndyCar. You see these guys are trying to blow it off right now because even though it's wet, when you hit that, as Townsend will tell you, I mean, you lose all grip. You do have a little grip with rain tires, but when you hit that kind of water, it's done.
And it's not very often, as Robin mentioned, we see Tony Kanaan, that he reigning Indy 500 champion at the back. But first, let's go to the front. Will Power, for the 33rd time in his open wheel career, he sits on the pole of the Mothers starting grid, and it's his 3rd time here at Birmingham.
And Joseph Newgarden, another great qualifying run, outside row 2. A lot of people talking about this kid's future. Where could he end up? Maybe with one of the big teams.
Let's keep it on rolling and give you the full picture. A couple of veterans, Scott Dixon, Helio Castro Neves on the 3rd row of the grid. So, Wally, when you're up the front, when you like these guys who have a prominent starting position, how do you play it?
Well, like I said, I think the biggest advantage these guys have is being able to see. And, you know, another thing, too, when you're kind of, if you have somebody in front of you, you can judge a little bit on how far you can go in the corner under braking and stuff. You know, really, I think Townsend, probably one of the toughest jobs right here. The hardest part's going to be Will Power or whoever takes the lead, because you're the first guy through. You're the tester.
You're the guinea pig, and everybody behind you has the benefit of watching your tires grip different parts of the track. And one of the keys here is to quickly figure out the optimal wet line for these conditions, but it's going to dry fast, and that'll change everything. And how about Tony Kanaan back there, Lee? I mean, it's just not something we're used to seeing on a road course. If there's a hard charger looking to come through the field, it's going to be that guy, and he's done it before.
And that's one of the things we like to update you with throughout the broadcast all the time, is who are the biggest movers and where did they start and where did they come from. And we'll constantly do that for you with TK, with Tony Kanaan, and also Mike Conway, who's starting further back than where he would like. With thanks to National Guard, we'll have this on board with the number 15 National Guard entry of Graham Rahal.
Don't wait for the start. Let's test them out. Make sure we're where we want them.
Simon Pagenaud has this view for us, courtesy of Lucas Oil, aboard the 77. And look at that. Now keep in mind the camera is a little higher than Simon's head in the cockpit, but that's the view. That'll give you some idea and give us some idea of what conditions are like. For Scott Dixon, Verizon brings us this view of the Target Chip Ganassi entry, the number 9, the defending champion of the series. It is going to be a tough day's work. We've been talking about this man here, Joseph Newgarden. And we look forward to what he brings us. And I'm just, these views are going to be incredible.
You know, one thing too you got to be concerned about is not the spray, obviously, but these visors fogging up. That's another problem that you have when you're trying to see.
And a quick reminder about Verizon streaming as we ride along with James Hinchcliffe. Download the IndyCar 14 app. Visit verizon.com/IndyCar, the App Store or Google Play. That's Verizon and IndyCar, driving technology. Ooh, lots of standing water there as they crest that blind hill.
Yeah, Wally, you'd mentioned visors fogging. The last few years, one of the neat things about the visors on these helmets is they're now 2 layers. So there's sort of a layer of air trapped between a thin plastic inner layer and then the outer thick visor layer. That's done wonders for reducing the fog. I remember back in the day, you'd be out there with the Rain-X, the anti-fog, and
drilling holes. I mean, I used to drill holes in the bottom of the visor to get some air.
It's gotten a lot easier, kind of like ski goggles, but pure visibility just with the spray is the biggest issue, no doubt.
And look at that, we get some indication of the spray there at nowhere near full speed. This will be a spectacle for sure. You kind of feel for the guys a little further back in the pack. Ryan Briscoe told us that earlier, didn't he? We'll have to see how it is starting from the 10th row of the grid.
Green this time.
And what I like about this, guys, is with the wind blowing and a little bit of sun out, that racing line could drive very, very quickly. And we could see some really great drama as those rain tires get too hot.
I'll tell you what, I think if I'm Kanan, I'm just going to lay back here for a couple laps.
That is not in his repertoire, brother.
May not be, but...
Over on the back line of the circuit.
Up. Don't forget about your overtake. Get your fuel where you want it. Slot 4 or whatever you think here. Get your fuel where you want it.
That's the voice of President of Penske Racing, Tim Cindric, to pole sitter Will Power. As James Hinchcliffe for Andretti Autosport slots up alongside him, the field packs up. Can you imagine being one of these 23 IndyCar drivers for the Grand Prix of the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama? We are set to go finally after a lengthy rain delay. Round 3 of the Verizon IndyCar Series in very trying conditions. Andretti pulls out very early, further back in the field, and pole sitter Will Power will take turn 1.
Wow, and look at Huertas went inside Saavedra there, almost in the overrun area off the side. Side by side, the grip's going to be on the outside line, I think, here. Let's watch.
Hinchcliffe went to the inside, though. He went wheel to wheel with Will Power. Look at this. Hunter Ray slots in as well. He looks that inside line into turn 5.
Oh, that visibility is miserable further back for all those guys.
Wow. Power up front where everybody wants to be with a clear view. And so far, Wally, they've been very well behaved.
I really expected somebody to have a problem going down that corner. Hinchcliffe is not giving up.
On the left.
Oh, it has to give it. You have to give it there. There's no way you can't hardly go through there side by side when it's dry.
These cars produce so much downforce, but they do so through suction. That
Pagano.
is Pagano off. I was going to say they pull up so much water, so it's going to be really bad on these first 2 laps. And Hunter Ray is almost backwards.
Oh, we got somebody backwards.
That's Munoz spinning further back.
And another car as well, joining Carlos. That's Takuma Sato. The 14 started 14th. Can he get the ABC supply going again? No, he needs help.
Or get your hand up, buddy. Get your hand up.
And he's got his hand up because the car has stalled, and he's going to need a restart or a push. We've got a full course caution. And that's the hardest part about this, guys, is you're coming around, you think you've got grip, and you come to a section of track where everybody clearly hit a little bit of water. You saw Hunter Ray almost lose it, and then further back, completely blinded, 2 more guys lose it over that same stretch.
They were just starting to get spread out a little bit where you may be able to see 20 feet, 30 feet. Now they got to go and start this thing all over again.
We got some replays for you to show you what happened to Takuma Sato. Right in the middle there, coming through the turn. Oh, there goes Munoz,
yeah, Sato
and that's Montoya.
Montoya was avoiding, and then
at the back
almost exactly the same thing, Sato.
Simon Pagano, check this out in the 77.
I think that curb helped a little bit
there. I think all that rally experience in Europe helped him there. That was an amazing save.
Watch Marco Andretti here in the yellow and blue machine. Just popped out on his teammate Carlos Munoz. And then tucked back in. There was no advantage gained there.
Really a clean start.
And all 23 drivers doing a superb job on the start. And Takuma Sato has been fired and is back going. back at Barber Motorsports Park, and we're still under a full course yellow here at the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama due to a spin by Takuma Sato. In fact, a couple of cars went off track. Carlos Munoz and fellow Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya, they were able to keep going, but Sato stalled, got restarted, has rejoined the pack, and we're ready to go back to racing here. That just gives you a beautiful snapshot of what an amazing venue this is. Over 700 acres here on the plot. And if you want to know how difficult it is to be an IndyCar driver today, check this out with the reigning series champion, Scott Dixon.
You can see him pulling a tear off here, getting ready for this restart. And that water is going to keep coming up, meaning the cars are going to pull it off the asphalt, shoot in the air. It'll get better and better with each lap, but here we go.
Restart, and green means go here. You can pull out of line. As soon as that green flag flies, you start racing.
Green.
Hunter Ray on the inside of his teammate, but he's not close enough. Power, Hinchcliffe, Hunter Ray, Castro Neves, Dixon, Newgarden, Andretti. That's the top half dozen. Look at RHR around the outside.
Now side by side, Hunter Ray has a little bit of an advantage because he's on the clean part of the track and he gets the power down better. Because Hinchcliffe was on the dry line, which is rubbered up, it's really slippery.
Ryan Hunter-Ray is desperate to get that win he feels he should have had in Long Beach, and he wants to go back-to-back here. And look at that, Michaela Lotion on the inside of Joseph Newgarden, and Montoya lights it up and gets sideways out of turn 5.
Now look at the spray off these cars. I mean, that is just really, really incredible. You cannot see anything. I mean, you really, all you're doing is if you pick a spot, whatever you can see, if it's a guy's wing in front of you, you're just basing off of that. And a lot of times, if he goes off the racetrack, you're going to follow him.
Yeah,
you cannot see.
No question. It's a lot like fighter pilot, formation flying. And the other problem here is you don't have the muscle memory because you've been running in the dry. All your reference points are based on the speed in the dry, not in the wet. Montoya pushing a Lotion really hard here.
And the World Series by Renault driver and race winner Michaela Lotion. So look at this, around the outside goes Juan Pablo Montoya. Wally, we spoke about this earlier. He's on a mission.
And he is. And like Townsend pointed out, he knows where to run on these racetracks because, like he said, where the rubber is on the line, it's very slippery right now. He's actually looking for the dirt and the debris. That's where these rain tires really hook up.
That was such a great example of the grip of the rain line, which is rim shotting the outside of the corner. You see a lot of guys experimenting. Look at Bourdais back here, all the way outside on that cushion, just riding around with good speed. Kelly?
Remember, for Juan Pablo Montoya, it has been about 7 years since he has raced in wet condition. He was a little unsure of how it would play out. He seems very comfortable with his setup today. And although he was pretty sharp earlier when we talked to him in the pre-race show, he has been battling somewhat of a flu throughout this week. He said he kept waking up in the middle of the night with sweats, but this guy was amped up. He was ready to go racing about an hour ago, guys.
Doing a super job in these challenging conditions in the PPG entry for Roger Penske, and he gets sideways. That's where he and Munoz left the racing circuit earlier.
But that's where you're testing. Every lap, the track is getting a little bit better. The rain is, or the water's coming off the track, so you're pushing it a little bit harder every lap, and that's the envelope that you're pushing right there. You're going to find out where the edge is.
And your visibility is getting better with each lap, so your confidence grows, but you got to be careful. Look, he's pulled the same move again there on Marco, the over-under in the final corner. And I promise you, Marco's guys are going to be telling him, stay outside in that last right-hander.
Andretti wants to challenge back into turn 1, but he's unable to. And another position for Juan Pablo Montoya. Up ahead, Scott Dixon is the next on his list, and then Penske teammate Helio Castro Neves.
And look at Bourdais. Bourdais I've been watching because he's working the outside line better than just about anybody. I'm not sure how much of an advantage he's seen at this point, but he's coming up on a Lotion now, and he's going to put some of his IndyCar rain experience in test.
Nice. Look at this, Bourdais.
Nice. Yeah.
Beautiful, and the over and under, can a Lotion respond? They go side by side out of the hairpin.
And that's one of the hardest things to do when you're racing in the rain is know how far you can drive down in the corner before you get on the brakes.
Well, one of the things Bourdais knows is that he can rim shot the outside of a corner for grip, but he can also run up the inside in a braking zone and also have that grip because, again, that's the rain line typically. It's not as rubbered in. Kevin, what you got?
Well, Sebastian Bourdais has been pushing for a win. He hasn't won since 2007, and he says that might be one of the reasons I've made some mistakes back at Long Beach, into the tires a couple of times, in practice, off a couple of times on Friday. He is in a position where he has the opportunity to now press the issue. He loves the chemistry on this team. Now he wants everyone to get rewarded.
And there is the co-team owners, Jimmy Vasser, former series champion on the right, Kevin Kalkoven on the left. Eagerly watching their man, Sebastian Bourdais.
Newgarden behind you.
And that's the message to Bourdais. That's Newgarden behind, who has gone backwards. Newgarden running in 10th after that promising and positive qualifying performance. Joseph just finding his feet. Race leader Will Power into the turn 5 hairpin, has a comfortable margin over Ryan Hunter-Reay, who has about the same gap back to his teammate James Hinchcliffe, who sits third. And life is more comfortable up here, Townsend.
They're doing a fantastic job, really. I mean, Power, it's very hard to do what he's doing. The first guy on the track, you've got the great visibility, but you have to be the guinea pig, as Wally said earlier. Now, all of these guys would have most likely disconnected their rear anti-roll bar to aid with rear grip in anticipation of the rain. But if the track dries as quickly as it looks like here, it could be really interesting to see their balance fall off. Look at the river crossing here. You see these two big stretches of water pushing across. That really is going to hurt your traction. You can see everybody's trying to go around it if they can.
And look at the progress Tony Kanaan has made right there. TK, the Indy 500 winner, is just carving his way through this field on a very interesting day in Alabama. We'll be back as we come back to Barber Motorsports Park for round 3. A reminder that the first Saturday in May, the race to the Triple Crown begins with a Kentucky Derby. Coverage begins Wednesday at 4 Eastern here on Nbcsn, and it all leads up to the big race Saturday at 4 Eastern on NBC. Things are drying out and things are clearing out, if you will. Power, he has now led all 5 years here at Barber Motorsports Park in the Verizon IndyCar Series. No other driver has done that. And is it a different Will Power this year? Some say yes, some say no. There's one thing's for sure, Townsend Bell, he is on a mission, the championship points leader.
No question. Look at his lap times. He's a second quicker than anybody on track right now. They say the rain is the great equalizer, but it's equalizing in his favor right now.
He shared with me a personal story where he went to good friend and longtime friend and supporter, former Formula One driver Mark Webber, and just said, you know, with those 3 years of finishing runner-up in the championship, Mark had had some adversity in his career and dealing with that kind of really savage relationship with Sebastian Vettel, and said, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And Webber gave him some very good advice, career advice, and about work ethic, etc. And it seems ever since having that meeting with Webber, he's turned things around.
Well, you know, he just is focused on winning, and this is a guy that's always focused on winning. We're looking at TK here, who's just been charging through the field like we talked about, currently running in P14. Remember, he started last, and this is the kind of race he needs to really turn this weekend around, Jan.
And the reason he needs this, not only the conditions, but also because of that momentum. You heard him say in the pre-race show, they really missed the setup in the dry. They tried all kinds of things, and in case you're wondering, they did try Scott Dixon's setup. It just did not work for Tony Kanaan. So he and his engineer, Chris Simmons, continue to work to try to find what will work for Tony, but these conditions are giving him the opportunity to go out there and show what he can do in the great equalizer on wet conditions.
And take a look at that. On the map there, just the tracker of where Will Power is in comparison to Tony Kanaan. Tony's dropped over this blind hill here, and Power is already down near the museum section of the track. Michaela Lotion on the inside of Sebastian Bourdais.
Lotion has been very impressive so far in the rain. I mean, he has really been picking them off. He's been doing a very nice job. And he's passing good guys. Yeah, it's not like he's bad.
You think the barbecue might have had something to do with it? He got his first little nibble over there at Rusty's.
He enjoyed it, and I think he's just enjoying being in the United States in general. The experience has been wonderfully enjoyable for him, and he's coming to grips with racing IndyCar style, that's for sure. So at the moment, Hunter-Reay continues his chase of Will Power, Hinchcliffe, and Elio Castroneves. Montoya did get Dixon while we were away in that last commercial break. And then it's Marco Andretti, Michaela Lotion on screen right now. Bourdais and Newgarden in the top 10. And there they are, drawing the line. Munoz trying to get there as well.
1.1.
Now what he's doing is he's moving over, trying to get temperature down on those rain tires. He knows the rain line is drying, and as it does, the temperature, especially on rain tires, it builds between the grooves. And if it gets too hot, they really just start to melt and completely fall apart. And the Lotion's being very proactive. Whoa, and Bourdais almost loses it there coming up over the rise.
And you know,
look at this, Wally. Look at this on the inside. Turn 5, and he holds the Lotion out there.
That's a good move. Here comes a crossover. So, and your Townsend's right, though. If these guys are searching for all this water, I don't know if they can go another 15 laps, Townsend, because this water is going to start disappearing. They're not going to be able to cool their tires. And these things, when they, I don't know how you would call it, when the grooves take off on this tire, it grinds them up fast. Like in 1 or 2 laps, you can totally ruin these tires.
And it rounds off the sharp edges. And when it rounds off the sharp edges, it loses all of its bite essentially on the water. Kelly, you can add.
Yeah, Lotion doing a terrific job, especially considering he's been coming over the radio complaining of understeer pretty much since the drop of the green flag. You talk about learning the art of racing for this young Russian. He says he's really had to get used to the style of fighting on track. He says it's a bit more aggressive here than what he's used to in Europe.
And he's handling it. He's handling it just fine, Kelly, isn't he? Because he just went past a 4-time open wheel champion and just drove straight to the outside of the track and made life hard for Sebastian Bourdais as they continue their fight over 8th place. A little further up the road, Scott Dixon, Helio Castro-Neves, and this is one Pablo Montoya, who has made up position after position, lap after lap, and at the moment is in a really nice position, sitting in 4th, which is exactly where he finished in Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. He is knocking on the door of getting on the podium on his return to IndyCar racing. If you've just joined us though, up front, this is a power show. Willpower, that is. The Team Penske driver well and truly in command over Ryan Hunter-Reay, last year's race winner. Great to be racing, and if you don't understand what I mean by that, it's great to be racing because we've had an afternoon full of thunderstorms and lightning and heavy rain, and to see the track almost dry is amazing. As we race in this time-guaranteed 1 hour, 40-minute third round of the Verizon IndyCar Series, you're looking at the Verizon Chevrolet driver Will Power, who leads this championship by 28 points. And there's the series champ, Dixon, who's working over Castro-Neves big time.
This has been a great battle right here. Dixon has been up, besides Montoya, a couple of times, but he just hasn't been able to pull off the pass.
And you can see Dixon grabbing a little bit of that standing water on the straightaway, again, just to try to cool his tires down. It's fascinating to watch the performance crossover here. Will Power, for instance, up front has slowed down a little bit. Hunter-Reay has gotten faster. As the track is changing, the balance shifts quickly for these guys. Right now, Dixon's car looks really strong.
Take you back and show you this. This is Jack Hawksworth on the right-hand side of your screen. Ryan Briscoe on the left. That downhill section into turn 5, the hairpin. It's a really signature corner here at Barber Motorsports Park, and the rookie made a good job. Oh, Will Power! Power is off! The race leader, when he had 4 seconds lead over Ryan Hunter-Reay, has gone off the track at turn 5.
And that might have been all of that 4 seconds given up there. Let's see if he's fallen behind Hunter-Reay. Just as we were talking about the balance changing and the performance changing. No, he's lost the position. Hunter-Reay is to the lead.
Just when things were well and truly in control, what has happened to Will Power? And that has played just beautifully into Ryan Hunter-Reay's hands. Let's show you what happened to the race leader.
Coming into the hairpin. He just overcooks it on entry. Understeers off the corner. Now he's thinking, I'm going to lose the lead. I'm trying to stay on it. Then he's got to get out of it because he's going to get the tire wall.
I'll tell you what, he got lucky twice. Not getting stuck in the gravel and not hitting that wall.
Yeah. So there's the margin now, first to second after leading every lap, all 17 laps so far. It's now gone Ryan Hunter-Reay's way.
And one of the things I'm watching, I'm starting to see a little bit of that heat vapor form on that straightaway shot. If you look closely, you can see that heat coming up. That means these tires are going to go fast now as that dry line comes in.
And when you say fast, that means they're going to deteriorate. They're not going to go faster. Yeah, exactly. This is not good to see that steam coming off those tires.
Yeah. The gap is 3 seconds to hinge flip, 3 seconds.
Here we go, to fight further back. Look at this, a Lotion, Marco Andretti. You got Bourdais, Newgarden in the mix. Guys going to the inside line, searching for that wet.
Everybody in a desperate attempt to cool down their tires now.
Inside Bourdais on Andretti.
And look at Bourdais, that's a great comparison. And the inside line is now finding the grip that guys want. Let's see what happens here in the brake zone. Bourdais to the inside.
See if there's a crossover.
And
he slows right down there, yeah. I think he was expecting the crossover right there, or Bourdais was. But you know, Townsend, it's going to get to a point where the first guy's going to come in, and we've seen a lot of times they're going to gamble and put the dries on, and everybody's going to, you can lose or gain a lot of time depending on how that first guy puts those dries on and how quick he goes.
Oh man, but if you're that first guy, it is such a roll of the
And
dice.
that's the problem right there. That stuff across the track is really, really bad on the dries.
Absolutely, especially when you come out with no tire warmers. Those things are cold as rocks, and you've got to get temperature and find out if you've come in at the right time or too early. See who's going to be the first one to take that chance.
We can't say enough about the 26-year-old Russian, Mikhail Aloshin, who is now running 7th. He's chasing Scott Dixon down. He's not fazed by the big stars around him, and he's doing an incredible job picking off positions and surging forward. As we check in with Juan Pablo Montoya, we're hearing he may be having an issue here.
Yeah, Lee, it looks to me like his guys are maybe getting ready there in the pits. They're going to start putting pre-printed text, as you see there, on the signboard that he's going to see on the front straightaway, probably because his radio is going away. Just shows you the preparation of Penske. I've never seen a team, I didn't know they had those things already printed out.
What a drive, what an opening period it has been from Juan Pablo Montoya, though he still maintains 4th, trying to bridge that gap to James Hinchcliffe, which is around about 6 seconds. As he continues his pursuit for a championship. Ryan Hunter-Reay has been gifted the lead courtesy of a mistake from Power. Can he hold on to it? A very definitive dry line is beginning to form on the Barber Motorsports track, and that's going to start making people make strategic decisions, like while we're in the commercial break, the car on screen there, Oriol Servia for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing came in and pitted.
And why not? I mean, Oriol Servia not running the full season. He needs a great result anyways. Why not take a chance and come in? Now, is he on dry tires? He is. He is on red tires, which is what you would do, right? The temperature's down. You're gonna put the softer reds on to take advantage of the temperature. And we've got to watch his lap times now. He's going to come around here for the first time real soon, and we'll see if it's an advantage. Everybody else will be doing the same thing, Wally.
I'll tell you what, to me it looks like an advantage. I mean, you know, and like I said earlier, if you can do it and get 4 or 5 laps on everybody, and it works in your favor, you're putting a ton of time on everybody. Right there, he struggled a little bit.
And this is
offline just a little bit.
And this is a great comparison. You got the fastest guy on the track, race leader Ryan Hunter-Reay, and a guy coming out on cold reds. And if those temperatures come up and he drives away, everybody in the pit lane is going to be watching the performance advantage. There he goes.
There
look at
where
that.
It's a little bit drier, but as soon as you get some water on those slicks, hang on, right here.
That's where it's tricky.
Whoa, Aloshin's gone around.
He finally.
And Bourdais gets through.
Looked to me like he tried to roll back into Bourdais a little bit there.
And look at all those positions lost. Aloshin and Bourdais were having a tremendous scrap for 7th position. And now that's gone Sebastian Bourdais' way. Down in turn 5, it's a hot spot at this track. What happened?
And Aloshin's just kind of holding his line. Bourdais gets in deep and just gets up into the back of him there. Now Bourdais going to give him a hand signal like goodbye, and Aloshin's going to keep rolling backwards and try to see if he can just give him a little nip there. Full course caution, guys, and look at the temperature coming off of those rain tires. You can see the heat just blowing up there, and Bourdais is off and running. Now,
that's Mikhail Aloshin, the Russian, just waiting to be rescued and helped. But the reason why Ryan Hunter-Reay is out in the lead is because Will Power, who had led every lap, same corner by the way, turn 5, until that. Can you believe it, Wally?
Yeah, like I said, he dodged a couple of bullets right there, but
now looking up and down pit lane.
Up now, yeah.
Firestone reds, slick tires. Everybody's going to go, and that's going to make this restart really treacherous. Temperatures are going to be down on everybody's new tires, and that restart, man, it's going to be one to watch.
So Oriol Servia, the second car on screen right there, who was at the back of the pack, of course a lap down, the first to go on to those dry tires and the red-walled softer compound of the two. This is Mikhail Aloshin, stranded at the moment down in turn 5, not very happy with Sebastian Bourdais.
And one of the issues I noticed, Lee, when we were looking closer on the rain treads there on Alotian's car, the tread level, I mean, you're talking about a half of inch of rubber already gone off those race tires. You can barely see the grooves. So they're essentially on slicks anyways at this point, which might explain Bourdais' issue there and getting a little lock up and getting to the back of Alotian.
The whole Matro safety team on hand to go and rescue Alotian. Race leader Ryan Hunter-Reay felt good. He's felt good all weekend. Felt bad about what happened in Long Beach, but he's been feeling good this weekend.
You know, but we talk about Hunter-Reay's ability to bounce back. Over the last 2 or 3 seasons, he'll have adversity and he'll just come back fighting. Long Beach, great example, terrible result. Serbia stays out, the rest of the field's coming in.
Got to be careful on these pit lanes too, guys. Don't forget that concrete is awfully slippery. It's even slicker than the asphalt.
The other advantage when they go back to racing as well is that Oriol Servia already has time at full speed on those tires.
And essentially on the same fuel strategy at this point, right? So Servia could be in for a great day.
Red's put on.
And watch Power versus Hunter-Reay here. This is the race off pit lane. Can he beat him? He's going to fight traction. It's going to be close.
Does he have it? Does he have it? He does. RHR maintains his position ahead of Will Power. Good work from the Ganassi guys for Scott Dixon. Really good work there, and Bourdais comes out as well. Excellent. Montoya loses positions, a couple of those, and Hinchcliffe frustratingly lose 2 as well. Wow. So they all cycle through. It's time for some nervous laps coming up. There's Carlos Huertas, the rookie for Dale Coyne Racing. And when we come back, Oriol Servia, the man at the front of the pack. We'll see how it works out. Yes, you are looking at a very damaged race car, and there's an extremely frustrated driver. It's Carlos Munoz of Andretti Autosport, and he lost it just on the outlap after making his first stop. In an awkward situation, the skid marks on the grass tell the story. And this very talented rookie who finished on the podium on the streets of Long Beach is out of the Honda Grand Prix of Alabama. That's the tail end of it.
You know, we just get the tail end, but there's so much urgency for these guys under caution to get temperature in those cold, slick tires and get the temperature fast, and he just pushed it too far, obviously, under yellow. Really tough break for him. But it shows you the challenge in dealing with all of these condition changes. You really have to be on top of your game, and a mistake can be so costly.
Now remember, we told you a little earlier through that cycle of pit stops for this man here, James Hinchcliffe, I said frustratingly loses a couple of positions. This is what happened during that opening stop at the United Fiber and Data team.
And what's happening, the fueler's having trouble getting the spring to compress and get it in. He finally gets it in, but that's a good 4 or 5 second loss on the fuel. Oftentimes, that fuel insert is the most critical part of the pit stop.
Now, take a look at this. On the right-hand side of the screen is Helio Castroneves, and he's gone to the wrong pit box. This is a la Lewis Hamilton when he left McLaren and went to Mercedes. He went to Justin Wilson's pit.
Lee, but you can see why. I mean, look at this. The uniforms between the Boy Scout guys and the AAA guys are identical.
Yeah. How about that?
the penalty of sponsorship.
Yeah.
Paint schemes.
Hamilton did the same thing. After seeing McLaren uniforms for so many years, he forgot that he was driving for Mercedes momentarily.
He said, oh, hey, there's Bob. I'm coming in.
Yeah. So Munoz's car will be rescued. We'll clean things up and go back to racing. What a day we've had.
Back at Barber Motorsports Park, and Carlos Munoz has made it back to pit lane. What happened?
I'm not sure. We just put the slick tires. I hit, I don't know, a river or something. You know, I was not really aggressive. It just, everything was really quick. When I saw I was sideways through the wall. And I feel really bad for my mechanics and everything. I think we were looking good. They did a great pit stop, so we took quite positions in the pit stop. And it was a long season.
Tough break, and that's the first thing the team told him. Don't worry, it is a long season, but I think that shows on these slick tires, one little bit, one little patch of water can catch you in a hurry.
Yeah, it is. doesn't sound like it, but really, when you're on these drives, and the cold, don't forget they're cold drives, it's just you completely lose all grip.
Well, talking about an interesting situation here, Wally. I think Saavedra's still on wets. He did not pit, so he's going to be on wet tires, heavily worn with a dry forming line, fighting for traction, and behind him is a bunch of Tigers on fresh, dry, slick tires, but cold. So let's see what happens here. This should be fascinating.
And updating you on the 3 of Elio Castro Neves, he's going to get a penalty for that infraction in pit lane. And green we see, Ryan Hunter-Reay pops out to try and get by Sebastian Saavedra as quickly as he could, unsuccessfully, up to turn 2. Power, then Dixon. Look at this, here comes Castro Neves and Sebastian Bourdais. We're understanding that he may be penalized as well for that contact with Mikhail Aleshin.
Looking at Hinchcliffe fighting for traction. Here's Castro Neves, sorry, Montoya inside of Bourdais.
Marco Andretti, James Hinchcliffe, Newgarden. Back to Tony Kanaan. On board with Joseph.
You're clear all around.
Oh, that is tricky. Look at him fighting for traction. That's exactly where Munoz lost it under yellow. Listen to the throttle here.
You can just very gentle.
Oh, they are tiptoeing through that fast chicane now. Oh, somebody's off there ahead.
It's Montoya. Juan Pablo Montoya is in the gravel trap.
I was just saying, what a tiptoe through that fast chicane. It is just brutal. If it just gets a little bit of wheel spin, it's going to get away from you in a hurry. And unfortunately for Montoya, that's the case. Now, he's probably going to stay strapped in here, see if somebody will push him or tow him out. If you release your seat belts, you're done.
Right.
Visor up to signify that he's okay. It was just a spin and a dump in the gravel trap. Montoya, who had been running very well today, as you can see, he's animated to get going again. Oh, was there contact with Bourdais?
He may have gotten some help on that one.
He was awfully close to Bourdais' nose there, who already gave a little love to Aleshin earlier.
There's Bourdais up ahead. Watch this. On board with James Hinchcliffe. Here goes Montoya around the outside of Hinch.
Now look at Marco. Marco's on that outside line. Watch Hinch fight for traction.
Nice move, Marco Andretti. Now watch this. Look to the right-hand side of your screen. Look right, look right.
Really can't say. I mean, I would guess, it's such a fast corner, I would guess that he just lost it on wheel spin with how much people are tiptoeing through there, but we're going to have to look at it again.
There's another angle, this time from behind. Take a look at this. Way up there.
No, I think he just lost
it by himself.
Yeah, I don't think Bourdais got into him on that one.
Wow. Kelly, what do you have?
Lee, difficult to say whether or not he had a little bit of help there, Juan Pablo Montoya, but he had just come over the radio during that caution and told his team it was a bit early to go to the Reds. He said, we've got to do it, but there are still some spots on this track that are just too wet. Kevin?
See, Sebastian Bourdais there has been penalized for contact earlier with Mikhail Aleshin. Bourdais not happy at all on the radio, but he's going to have to serve a penalty. Also on the restart, James Hinchcliffe had dropped to 6th. He was second going into that pit stop. They had a problem getting the fuel probe inserted, so just a mechanical issue, and that's why Hinchcliffe lost several spots.
You know, with everything getting wet like it did this morning, I wonder if something like the fuel probe spring, you know, can just kind of tighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be lubricated constantly, but it's the little things, guys, in this business.
Sebastian Saavedra, as you saw there on the right-hand side of the screen, as Montoya's made it back, still leads this race. However, he is the only one in the field yet to pit. Kelly?
Leave the tires, leave the tires.
Juan Pablo Montoya in. They were asking whether or not he had a flat spot, so you see him as they check around the tires or around the car,
Plenty of time, guys.
removing some of that sand, the debris.
Get it right.
They've also been having issues with the radio for the 2 cars, so they're working on
we're okay.
whether or not he's got a flat spot. Doesn't look like they're going to give him in new tires. Definitely a lengthy pit stop here for the 2.
It just becomes a longer day when you're a lap down, though.
Yeah, he's already at the back, so they're going to take their time. They're working on the radio. That's over his left shoulder. That's where the radio cord will come out of your helmet and plug into the car system. So hopefully for him, he's going to have clean communication.
Thorough check for JPM, and they'll send him back into the mix. What an eventful day at Barber Motorsports Park. We'll be back. Clear conditions here in Birmingham, Alabama. However, still a very greasy and treacherous track for those left in this race to contend with. And speaking of races, what a menu we've got coming up for you throughout the month of May. Of course, Formula One, Spanish Grand Prix. It's the first of the European leg. Our friends at ABC, of course, will bring you the IndyCar Grand Prix of Indianapolis. We've got on Nbcsn Carb Day from the Speedway, and then the Monaco Grand Prix will be live on Nbcsn and NBC May 24th from 7:30 a.m. Eastern on the greatest day in racing. Really looking forward to it. It's always a busy and the best month of racing there is. Sebastian Saavedra still leads this race. However, he has yet to pit, so he's a little bit of a sitting duck as we're getting ready to go back to racing at Barber Motorsports Park. Yellow over, green flag flies.
Green.
Time to go back to work. Newgarden pulled out of the line, trying to get past Pagenaud. Couldn't quite do it. Pagenaud, however, gets past Hinchcliffe.
Pagenaud pushes Hinchcliffe a little wide. There's Newgarden looking on the outside of Hinch now. He's going to have that drier line, well, at least what we think is the better grip on the outside. Look at how close they are there. Whoa!
And that is over a blind corner, folks. To make that move from Joseph Newgarden, very slick. On the inside is Justin Wilson. Tony Kanaan on the outside in the purple and blue machine. Jack Hawksworth, the rookie. Here goes Marco Andretti trying to make a move on Scott Dixon. Almost 3 wide down to the museum turns.
The confidence is coming from heat in those Firestone Reds. Now this is the section of track coming up where really things can go in a bad way for you in a hurry through this fast chicane. Let's see who goes for it. Bourdais through.
Oh, here we go. Wow, that was a great save. Not sure who that was right there.
Joseph Newgarden.
Newgarden.
Full course yellow, map
Great
8.
save.
Full course yellow, somebody must have had an issue.
Huetes. Carlos.
And we've talked about the rookies and how great they've been, complimenting lack of mistakes and errors, but this is something you can't test for, right, Wally? I mean, you would never, in a test session, you would never be in wet conditions on slick tires, so you've got to learn on the job.
Where is he in this picture here? Further back, there he is down there, turn 5. He's trying to make a move on Oriol Servia and hits the back of, oh no, sorry.
Yep. Yeah,
Take
he
that
just
back,
lost
that was
it.
Ryan Briscoe.
I think he just jumped on the throttle and swapped.
Let's take you back a few moments. Let's show you the restart because it was pretty frantic. Look to the right there, Simon Pagenaud on the inside of James Hinchcliffe, and Newgarden lining up a shot as well.
Yeah, look at these guys. Now, Newgarden's doing the right thing by taking a little bit of space away. Sorry, Pagenaud, a little space away from Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe's out on that exit curb, is going to have no grip. But man, that hairpin exit, guys, has just been brutal, whether it's under yellow or under green.
Well, how about this for a ride? This is onboard Joseph Newgarden, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing. Watch this. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going for it. I am going for it.
I tell you, did a great job there. And like I said, when he got on the other end of this racetrack, when that thing swapped ends on him.
But look at his hands dance on the straightaway over those wet patches. I can't tell you how intimidating, how sketchy it is to come off of a dry section at 150 miles an hour on slick tires to hit standing water. Man, these guys are working overtime.
This is as close to a home race as Joseph gets. He's from Hendersonville, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. He's got a few family and friends joining him, but he said, honestly, I don't want the throngs of folks coming along. I need to stay focused. This is a huge year for me. As race leader, Sebastian Saavedra is looking for every puddle left on the track, and there aren't many, Wally.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what his strategy here is. I mean, he's obviously got to come in for fuel pretty quick.
Open, but stay out.
And they're telling him stay out.
That's Matt Curry, his race engineer, saying stay out, so perhaps Matt knows something that we don't.
And with the amount of cautions, it just continues to help him.
And like we said, you know, the track still has some water, so he still has some.
You're doing it great. I'm okay. This is a tough call. This is what we had to do. Based on this, these guys keep going off on reds. So you just keep yourself on track here. When you pit, we're going on reds. But I'd like to get these other guys going where it gets a little bit drier.
Helio Castroneves is going to take the service of fuel and tires, but he is serving the penalty at the end of this stop. Well, that's what they said on the radio, that he has a penalty that he had received. And as you see, Sato, Montoya, some others making stops. I believe what they meant on the radio is he would get the service now, then serve the penalty that he had for the penalty early on. So now that makes sense. Conway also back out on the track.
Maybe I think if Saavedra figures if they stay out there long enough and there's enough yellows, they can stretch this thing to where when they do come in, make the pit stop, they won't lose a lot of track position.
And Wally, there's already been 4 cautions for 12 laps. So with each and every one of those, it's helping Saavedra's cause. Going green this time, lights are out. And watch Saavedra's very different line compared to everybody else, Townsend.
Well, he's not exactly trying to cool his tires. It really looks like he's trying to keep his fronts warm, I guess. I mean, I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. I mean, the more you're swerving on those rain tires, the more you're wearing them out. They've got to be completely worn down, but he's in the lead, and he knows that other guys are making mistakes. Kevin, do you have anything for us?
Well, Townsend, I have heard drivers being told it's more important to keep heat in the tires right now than to save fuel, so I think that's it.
Well, but that's the rest of the field that's all on reds, not the guy that's on reds or rain tires that are all worn out.
Yeah.
And we have not seen Sebastian Bourdais serve his penalty either. So we'll continue to monitor that. The man in the hydroxy cut, number 11 for KVSH Racing. Ready to go racing now in Birmingham, Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. How long can Saavedra stay out front? That question is about to be answered. Hunter Ray, Power, Andretti, Pagenaud looking racy. Hinchcliffe wants to get a little bit of revenge on Newgarden for the move he put on him last restart.
Briscoe inside of Rahal, just squeezing in.
Rahal doesn't want to relinquish it. Inside Pagenaud on Sebastian Bourdais. These two came together last year. Pagenaud executes that easily, and so too does Newgarden.
And Hunter Ray just chewed up Saavedra there on the exit. Those fresh red tires passed easily. Look at Power on the inside going into that chicane. That's not a place we see passes very often here.
And Hunter Ray's got around Saavedra. Marco Andretti in that Snapple entry. The blue and yellow car is looking very racy today.
Now this is the section where we've seen the mistakes so far. They're coming through what is normally an easy, flat-out, wide-open throttle section. There's a little bit of that puddle at the end, but it's drying very quickly.
And the guys know, and they've identified with every lap that goes by, it's getting a little bit better on what's been an extremely trying day for them. Testing every bit of their skill. There's Michaela Lotion in the 7, the SMP Racing entry, making his way back, but unfortunately he's a lap down the bottom of the field. Look at Andretti continuing to apply the pressure to Power.
Really solid qualifying performance for Marco Andretti, the whole Andretti team. Probably the most consistent setup in terms of their top 4 guys. Their 4 guys all in the top 10 in qualifying, and he is dicing back and forth up the
inside.
Nice, very nice.
That was very decisive from Andretti, but Power comes back on the switchback, but Andretti's got the momentum.
And Saavedra has come in. Made his pit stop.
And that's what we don't understand. He's going to pit under green here. He's going to come out on cold tires, and the gap is going to be huge.
But if there would have been a caution a lap ago,
yeah,
that's a gamble that they take.
Ryan Hunter-Ray enjoying the lead at the moment. And what will Will Power be thinking at the end of this race if it does not go his way? The man who dominated the opening stanza before making that unforced error.
Well, here's where the rain setup. So remember, at the start of this race, you had to make a decision. Do I set the car up for dry or do I set it up for wet? We went 30 laps here where the track is now drying with the dry line. All of the drivers and the teams that have disconnected that rear end roll bar for maximum grip in the wet, they're going to start picking up massive understeer as that rear of the car is slow and lazy to fall over and grip up. It's really not ideal for the dry conditions.
How about Tony Kanaan on screen right there in the 10? After starting 23rd, it's been a good solid work day for Tony. He's knocking on the door of the top 10, but at the moment, it's RHR, Ryan Hunter-Ray. When the lights went out at Long Beach, the fight was on.
Hunter Ray to the inside.
I didn't expect anything like that in 4.
Dixon and Wilson, who are duking it out. Oh, they hit!
That's him done. Pagano in the tires at turn 6. Chrome horn.
No respect. Well, he should be angry. I'm surprised I didn't get a penalty.
We were very good friends until now, I guess.
Today at Barber Motorsports Park, putting the past behind will be difficult, as the history of this place has showed trouble before at the Augusta of Motorsports. And it's been a very eventful day already as we welcome you back to NBCSN's coverage. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Wally Dallenbach, Kelly Stavis, Jan Beekes, Kevin Lee, on what's been a very memorable day already. And it's a timed race, time guarantee, 1 hour 40 minutes due to our severe weather that moved through here a little earlier. And with daylight going away from us, so just under 40 minutes remaining here on track. Ryan Hunter-Reay leads Marco Andretti, who has been on a mission, and it's been impressive. He now is the focus of our Mazda driver profile. And the 27-year-old, this is a circuit he has not won at, would love to get himself back up a little higher in the championship points, because Marco's down in a tie for 18th at the moment. It's been a frustrating start. Remember how it started at St. Petersburg on that restart. He had that crash with Jack Hawksworth. Not quite gone the way that the 2014 season for him he would like to have been, but so far so good.
Now for Marco Andretti, they have revamped the way that they're engineering his car. He told me that now we're coming with less options to the racetrack. They have an initial setup, and then they've predetermined we're going to go one way or the other depending on what you think of the car. And he says, that's taking a lot of pressure off me. Now I can focus on driving. I don't get all hung up on making all kinds of wild changes on the car. They've been on the radio telling him, you're faster than Will. Keep pushing, but save those tires. Conway pushing hard now on Sato.
And the Andretti Autosport guys were telling us that across the 4 driver platform they have, they typically start with a baseline Townsend, a baseline setup, and then they'll refine and go as the weekend progresses.
Well, that approach really seems to be working as we watch Conway again working on Sato. Hunter-Reay, easily the fastest car on track. Remember, qualifying times in the 108s and 109s, Hunter-Reay at a 110 flat. Folks, you see water on the track still, but I promise you that dry line is fast, and with the cool temperatures, Hunter-Reay is on the go.
There's a mover in the pack, and it's one of our rookies. Jack Hawksworth has made his way up into 10th in the Brian Herder Autosport machine.
And he was another one of these guys that was completely lost in practice in terms of setup. He said, when we tested here, the car was great. Now I've got understeer everywhere. We just can't deal with it. Everything we tried makes no difference. But temperature is everything here. As the rain has cooled down the track, now he's on the fly. He looks to be one of the fastest guys in the top 10.
Here he is, and he's made up 12 positions from his starting spot, but he's not the biggest mover in the field. The biggest mover is Tony Kanaan from 23rd to 9th. Let's talk more about Jack Hawksworth.
And Townsend, he, according to Brian Herdy, is the fastest guy on track right now. I know we've heard that before, but this has still been an impressive drive, and you're right, they greatly welcome the rain. And as we talked about in our pre-race, this is a young man that 3 months ago thought he might be moving on in life. He was ready to stop pursuing a drive until he got the call from Brian Herda and was hired. It's still not been perfect today. They're going to add more front wing on the next stop, but impressive so far again for Jack Hawksworth.
The order is Ryan Hunter-Reay, Marco Andretti, Will Power 3rd, Scott Dixon 4th, Simon Pagano 5th, Newgarden, Hinchcliffe, Wilson, Kanaan, and Hawksworth. There he is, rounding out the 10 with 36.5 minutes to run here at Barber. 2 different winners in the opening 2 rounds of the Verizon IndyCar Series, where we have 3 from 3. At the moment, Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to take some stopping. 4.5 seconds out in the lead, Wally.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys you're looking down at the sheets. Pagano is running pretty fast laps. Newgarden is starting to run some fast laps. Just as this track dries out, you're starting to just see different guys, depending on their setups, are starting to make a lot of time up.
Justin Wilson is a man on the move as well. The Dale Coyne Boy Scouts of America entry. Justin sits 8th at the moment. And there he is there, hunting down James Hinchcliffe. I can only imagine he's extremely frustrated after starting on the front row, and he's been buried back in the pack a little bit. He sits 7th.
Tony Kanaan, we talked about him earlier being starting in the back of the pack. He is up to 10th spot right now.
And how about this guy, Charlie Kimball, in the morning warm-up, just clobbered the wall, backed it in big time. He's in his backup car, Guys, he did this last year at Mid-Ohio. Huge crash in qualifying, came back to win the thing. I'm so impressed how unfazed he is. You know, it absolutely doesn't, he doesn't miss a beat when that happens. And here he is pressing Briscoe hard to break into the top 10.
Townsend, let's relive those moments when Charlie Kimball went in backwards in that morning warm-up. Very confronting scenes.
And just listen. Folks, that's with a microphone that's... Here, let's listen again. And there's a sign of crash experience, taking your hands off the wheel, and all you can do is wait. It's the worst feeling in the world. You know you're on your way. You know it's going to hurt, and you just have to take it.
He was 22nd at the end of the first lap. Charlie Kimball right now runs in the 12th position. Will Power has been under sustained pressure from Scott Dixon, and here comes his old sparring partner and friend, Simon Pagenaud, into the deal. It's Andretti and Hunter-Reay, the teammates at the front of this field.
Well, welcome back to the Grand Prix of Alabama. You're watching Ryan Hunter-Reay pulling away from the field, doing a phenomenal job. But first, let's check down with Kevin Lee.
Michael Andretti's cars are 1-2. This is more like what you want. This is normal, straightforward conditions. Do they have enough to hang on up there?
Yeah, we hope so. You know, there's still a long way to go, but so far so good.
Pit stops, will you want to try, are you hoping for a green pit stop so everyone doesn't come in at the same time?
Yeah, we don't want anything to change now. We want to stay green the rest of the way.
Thank you. Michael Andretti.
There's Graham Rahal in the National Guard entry. Serviced and sent.
Oriole's coming to the last corner right now, so go, go, go.
And that pit lane exit is not dry. And he's on cold tires, sticker reds. Watch this. This is tricky. Look at his hands. Listen to the throttle.
Woo! He got on it pretty hard, harder than I thought he would.
Probably make it to the end now. Everybody else is going to have to pit.
Yeah. Now there's 35 laps to go. I believe his engineer said we might be able to make it to the end. If they run lean, they could really luck out with this strategy. That would be 35 laps. We need some yellow, though, to get him there. A lot of yellow. But are we time limited? How much time is left?
Yep, guaranteed 1 hour, 40-minute race. Time limit, that's for sure. Kelly, what do you have?
You heard the strategy that they're hoping will play out here for the 15 car, and really it hasn't been the start to the season maybe that Graham Rahal would have liked, but he's been really optimistic. They made some sweeping personnel changes on this team during the offseason, most notably getting Chief Engineer Bill Pappas, and Graham telling me the other day that he is so excited to have this new group of people. He says they feel like family. Right now they're just still sort of learning each other and getting in a groove together, but he's really optimistic that those changes are going to pay off dividends in the season.
Back to the race leader. Here is Ryan Hunter-Reay with half an hour remaining in this race. Can it be back-to-back victories like Will Power did in 2011, 2012?
Hunter-Reay, I mean, you just watch his car, even though it's still damp, that thing is hooked up.
Well, he's the first guy into the 109s. He's a 109.85 on that last lap, and he is flying.
Here's Sebastian Bourdais and Kevin standing by. Kev?
Well, it's been a quick weekend, but one with some issues for Sebastian Bourdais. Qualifying didn't go as well as they want. The Reds didn't have the proper balance. Instead of a fast 6 car, he had to start in the 12th position. Today, he's had to serve a penalty. They're coming in earlier than they need to because they feel their only chance is to get out, get clean track. The car is fast, and let's see if they can make through when everyone else cycles through. He's on sticker reds for this last stint.
Right, Rahal is coming out. Push, push, push.
Yeah, push, 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 bud. But listen, it's really slick here, and he's had a season of a couple of mistakes, uncharacteristic, so he's got to be very careful not to repeat that here. At the same time, his only chance to win is to push as hard as he can.
Wally, when you're as good as Sebastian Bourdais is, and we see him at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago, and he made 2 unforced errors when in a prominent position, how badly does that dent your confidence?
I don't... You know, Sebastian takes it pretty hard on himself. I mean, because he's such a very good driver, and he's been in a position to get some really good finishes, and it's his fault. The mistakes have been his fault. So he does, but, you know, he's very, you know, the guy is a machine. He does such a good job. When he's in focus, man, he is tough to beat.
This is Jack Hawksworth.
Hawksworth is going through his first few rounds of pit stops. That's something that young drivers don't deal with in the developmental series. They're going to go up 2 full rounds. That's a major turn for Jack Hawksworth, who's having a great drive from the back to contention, running in 10th before that stop.
And there's a lotion off, probably at the exit of the hairpin, it looks like to me. Kevin, they're cranking a ton of front wing in, I think because of that rear anti-roll bar. They would have disconnected it for the wet. Now the track's dry. You need a ton more front downforce to help compensate for the increased grip of the roll bar adjustment. So these track conditions really challenging to deal with.
And the minutes tick by, just 27.5 to go. And Ryan Hunter-Reay boasts almost a 5-second lead over Marco Andretti. Here comes Marco. Joseph Newgarden, he's been in the thick of it as well. James Hinchcliffe is also on pit road. This is Newgarden.
The message on the radio throughout the early portion of this race for Joseph Newgarden was patience, use good judgment. He started up at the front in 4th, made all the way back to 10th, but that patience has allowed him to work his way back up into position to contend for this race. We see a front wing change, and it's sticker red for Joseph Newgarden on his last stop.
Massive loss for Newgarden there on the fuel. Same problem that Hinch was having earlier. They just couldn't get that fuel probe to plug in. I really think some oxidation has occurred with all that rain because it's uncharacteristic to see this many issues with the fuel probe.
Let's take a ride. This is Conway and Bourdais further down in the order. This is 16th and 17th position. Kind of feels weird talking about Mike Conway there, considering he won at Long Beach.
Well, it just shows you again how competitive the series is, and our race leader is in. This is Hunter-Reay on pit lane.
Will Power is also in the pit lane. Final round of stops with 26.5 to go.
Ryan Hunter-Reay has a prime position here at pit out after winning the pole at Long Beach. He's trying to go back-to-back here at Barber Motorsports Park. He's got a skid of sticker, red Firestones for the last end. It's a great stop. Will Power also exits out with a lot of track and ground to make up on Hunter-Reay.
Yeah, that's how you keep your lead right there, is pit stops like that.
And you know what I was watching was the fueler. It went plugged in just perfectly square and clean.
Clear, all clear.
Marco Andretti, the word is 2 laps, and we'll see the Andretti Autosport man pit for the final time in this race.
You know, we didn't see much pace out of Marco at St. Peter Long Beach, but man, he's been on it here, qualifying in the top 10, and his pace, his race pace, fantastic. He's matching Hunter-Reay, and here he is in pit lane.
No 2 laps, he's coming in right now. And we're going to watch this interval between he and teammate, and also where Will Power cycles through as well.
Now, there was about a 5-second gap between Hunter-Reay and Marco, but keep in mind that Hunter-Reay had to come out on cold tires. Marco's coming out on cold tires, but he might be able to pull out right in front of him. Let's see.
And Marco has been told on the radio before this to conserve the tires. They wanted to be sure that he kept his pace. That looks like a pretty reasonable stop for Marco. Now we watch the interval as Hunter-Reay sweeps by on the front straightaway. And this, Townsend, as you know, this is the tricky part right here. Where will he slot in now on these slick conditions?
It looked to me like Marco kind of banged his fist on the wheel, like he was upset with some sort of delay on the stop.
Because Ryan's going to have, I think, a bigger gap on Marco before these pit stops happen.
Yeah, it's not even close.
There was definitely frustration there from Marco Andretti.
I miss the old days when his dad Michael would throw that water bottle out. Remember, they would hand it on the pole? And oftentimes they would hit somebody in the head. Look at Saavedra all over Marco here.
Saavedra, who enjoyed time at the front of this pack, going on a solo strategy compared to the rest of the field a little earlier when things were drying. This is Dixon, the man who has finished runner-up for the last 4 years in a row.
They are ready for Scott, and they're going to try. They saw right next door that Marco Andretti had an issue on his stop. They're going to see if they can better that time for him. And whoa, that was a quick one. That was sub 9 seconds. So he's hoping that's going to close the gap.
Here comes Marco on the left-hand side of your screen. Dixon, now he's off that pit speed lane limiter, and Andretti will get him. He rounds him up the inside. But Dixon is a lot closer to Andretti than what he was. Saavedra's got that inside line. He's not going to make life easy for Dixon.
There is no way that Dixon's going to be able to hold those guys off on these cold tires. He's going to take at least a half a lap to get up to temperature. But man, he looked awfully fast out of the pits.
Pagenaud was following too.
Whoa, looks like something's coming apart. That's just debris coming off the track. The amount of marbles, I thought a tire was coming apart, Wally.
Yeah, there was some pretty big chunks of rubber flying up in the air there.
Now,
as you can see, Dixon still, like you said, Townsend, it takes a lot of heat to get
You're
those
good,
tires
you're
working
good.
where he can.
But it's coming in faster than I think, and if he gets the temperature in here, we can see a hard charger on fresh rubber.
This is Justin Wilson, and at the back of those guys where you saw Dixon come out, here is the Wilson stop.
And he obviously has gone well on fuel and on tires. They also go for a front wing change, not as much as we've seen for some others. Now Wilson, again, a bit of a shake of the head, not as fast as he would like.
And look at this pack, and look at the back of it. Behind Pagenaud and Dixon is Will Power.
Now these guys are banging their fists and shaking their heads, but that's what happens on green flag stops. It's thousandths of a second that you're just feeling in the car. It feels like forever.
And as this kind of circled through, it looks like Andretti lost about an additional 3 or 4 seconds on Hunter Ray after that pit stop.
Marco felt the pressure and the frustration. He was sitting there, in his mind, too long. Watch him in the cockpit.
Everything looks good, but the fueler is leaning in. Oh, it looks like there's some kind of issue inside the car. Maybe it's a radio problem. And who knows what exactly happened, but he's looking over like, you know, why are we taking so long?
Great stops here from Dixon, from Pagenaud, and now Power has to try and play catch-up. Saavedra's in the mix as well. How about that? For those of you just joining us, let's get you up to speed with a race recap and really trying conditions. Take a look at this early on. Carlos Munoz, Juan Pablo Montoya going off, and Takuma Sato spinning. That was on lap 1, and that caused the first of many yellow periods. Simon Pagenaud also went out into the grass down near the museum. As we scoot ahead to lap 15, this was Will Power, race leader, easily out in the lead to the tune of 4 seconds. Unbelievable.
Out in front on his own, and awfully lucky to not have damage to the front wing on that tire wall. And then we go to lap 21, Wally.
Yeah, a little contact here between these two guys, Bourdais and Alosha. These guys have had a great battle.
They were,
the whole
they?
race, yeah.
And it ended there. We go ahead to lap 22. Unbelievable. Elio Castro Neves thinks that this is his pit box because of the driver suit colors the pit crew have on. It wasn't. It was Justin Wilson's Dale Coyne crew. He was one stop too early.
They look like a 2-car team there. Then lap 27, everybody on a restart on slick tires. Here's Montoya off into the gravel. Got restarted. Currently, he's fallen back.
Yeah, he's 1 lap down in 21st position. If you are Ryan Hunter-Reay, life is good as we check in with the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama race summary. And RHR has been well and truly in control, but it is far from over for the podium places as we count down on minutes in this 1 hour 40-minute time guaranteed race. And a quick reminder, you can be part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Just go to shophonda.com to sign up. Enter for your chance to lead the start of one of these races, a Verizon IndyCar Series race. The sweepstakes begin May 1st and end August 6th. No purchase necessary, as we remind you each and every time. Wow, what a stop that was from Ganassi and also from Schmidt to leapfrog Will Power to put Dixon up into 3rd. He's in contention for another 2nd place. That would be 5 years in a row, Wally, finishing runner-up.
And I've been watching this on board with Dixon and him trying to catch Marco. It has been pretty good stuff. I mean, you watch him just driving this thing. There's a couple of spots that right there, like I said, all of a sudden he cranks a lot of wheel in it. He is pushing as hard as he can.
Want to know what it's like to take a lap of Barber Motorsports Park with conditions like this? Turn up the volume. Here it is.
They're hard to get close.
And that's Scott saying it's hard to get close. And what he means is he's picking up a little bit of downforce loss. He's losing downforce. The closer he gets to Marco with all these fast and medium speed corners, he's losing downforce and grip. So he might be faster, but getting by is a whole different story.
There it is. 2.3 miles around the Barber Motorsports Park circuit with just a quarter of an hour left. RHR looks like going back-to-back. Can Dixon possibly get another second spot?
Working on lap number 60 here at Barber Motorsports Park, but more importantly, it is a timed race. 13.5 minutes remain here in the Honda Indy Grand Prix. Let's go through the field now. Ryan Hunter-Reay is cruising more than 6.5 seconds in front. He went from third to second early in the race on his teammate, James Hinchcliffe, and then got past Will Power when Power had it off. Hunter-Reay right now is in charge, Jan.
And Kevin, for Marco Andretti, he had a longer pit stop as we saw, and we saw on the second look, they were trying to connect his radio to his helmet. The team is unsure as to whether that was successful. They lost a little bit of time. They wanted to be able to talk to him, but now you can see there's a gap between Marco Andretti and Scott Dixon. We also overheard on the radio that he was saying, I can't stay close. Heard from the pits, we have a good car, just keep staying after it. Kevin?
It's been a great drive for Simon Pagenaud. He also had a slight off early in the race and dropped down to 13th position, but he stormed all the way back to 4th. Rob Edwards called strategy for that team, said the car is fast and fast. In fact, his best lap is quicker than the top two right now. Jan?
And not the kind of day that Will Power was hoping for after being so dominant. You can see this gap as we wait for Will Power to come into the picture. He was on the radio initially when they took the slicks saying, I don't want slicks. I want to stay on the rain tires. But he had to switch because everyone else did. Justin Wilson, of course, has made huge gains as far as moving up the order, now running in 6th. Again, he loved his car in the cold of the test. Now he has a cold day to show what he can do.
Well, James Hinchcliffe lost a few spots with a slower pit stop, and they couldn't get the fuel probe in, but it's going much better than last year when he watched the race stranded for the entire race. When we were talking about this back in the transporter the other day, Ryan Hunter-Reay said, you watched the entire race and the car stranded? That's a rookie move. A little bit of a jab from Hinch's comment last week. Joseph Newgarden is there next in the 67, running in the 8th position. It's been a solid day for Newgarden. He's looking for a result. This place last year was his first top 10 when he went from 22nd to 9th. Jan?
And you talk about big movers. You talk about Tony Kanaan now up into the 9th position. He still has quite a bit of gap to close down. As you can see that there, he has some pressure from behind from Kimball. But what a great day for Tony Kanaan when he said just couldn't find any kind of balance on the car, Kelly.
Charlie Kimball has worked his way from 17th up into the top 10. Remember, he's racing in that backup car. They've had a couple of bad results early in the season, but he said he's actually got a feeling of momentum because at times they have shown speed. It seems to be working for him now. Behind Kimball is Ryan Briscoe. Now, he struggled with his setup all weekend long, and after qualifying, they decided to switch his setup to be the same as that of his teammate Scott Dixon in the 9 car. He said as soon as they did that, the car came alive. He's worked his way from 20th up to that 11th spot, Kevin.
Kelly rookie Jack Hawksworth continues to impress. He's been fast all season, but he hasn't had results really through no fault of his own. Certainly at Long Beach when he was collected running in the top 5. Today, the car has been impressive after struggling all weekend. He has worked his way up to the 12th position.
Another guy talking about trying to work his way up, Kevin, of course, is Takuma Sato. You saw him spin. That was right when they took the slick tires. He hit some water, and unfortunately, the anti-stall didn't kick in for Sato, and now he's playing catch-up. But a very nice job indeed.
Well, Mike Conway was one of the drivers looking forward to racing in this rain. He spent a lot of time over in Europe racing sports cars in some pretty miserable conditions. He said he was out there doing his rain dance. He also had a bad time in qualifying, starting 21st, and now he's worked his way into that top 15.
Kelly, unless something dramatic happens, this is going to be a disappointing day for the Hydroxy Cut team with KV Racing and Sebastian Bourdais. They were fast all weekend. They've been fast all season, but started a little further back. He suffered a penalty in the race, and he's running in the 15th position right now.
Well, Carlos Huertas, the rookie, he had a moment earlier when he spun out, but he said normally he's pretty comfortable racing in the wet. The biggest challenge for him here in IndyCar has been adapting to those red tires. He also isn't used to these long races where pit stops and strategy play such a big role. Behind him, Graham Rahal. Again, hasn't had the results that he would have liked early, but thinks that they have finally got the people in place to really make this team gel. This would be his best finish of the season so far.
There's the story of the field, and so many stories to tell. There will be disappointments leaving Barber Motorsports Park, but there's going to be a lot of joy. Bizarre story with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Up until last year, he had never even had a top 10 here, and here he is just 8.5 minutes away from going back-to-back. Extraordinary.
Well, it really speaks to the setup that Andretti has refined here. I mean, look at Marco's pace, Ryan's pace, Hinchcliffe, obviously, and even Munoz made a mistake, but he was awfully fast. And this track clearly so sensitive to finding the right balance, and these guys have really nailed it.
And if you weren't with us earlier today, we didn't think we'd be racing. Severe thunderstorms and bad weather crossed us, but we've got it done. 8 minutes till we see the checkered flag. We're back at Barber, and look at this. A nightmare scene for the rookie, Mikhail Aloshin. A day that started with so much promise. He tangled with Sebastian Bourdais, went down a lap, went to the back of the field. He was frustrated, trying to play catch-up. And now we see this. This is pretty much how his day is going to end here in his first time at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama.
And it's really been a day, guys, where we've seen the rookies have issues. We've got the tail end of the incident. Oh. Now, luckily, he's hitting what is supposed to be collapsible, soft, malleable material with what looks like the mattress I had in college that they've got there on the wall. But
you know, that
good news is he's okay. They've got the car out of the way. And Wally, I want these guys to hustle, run, push that thing back into place. Let's get restarted here under green.
Yeah, that's. I was just going to say, between that crash and Kimball's crash earlier this morning, that stuff has done a really nice job.
Very good job.
I mean, you know, it really has been great. These guys have bounced back. It looks pretty spectacular, but it's a lot softer than hitting that guardrail with dirt behind it.
Yeah. Well, imagine if he had actually just pushed wide enough to hit there. That would have been a sudden stop. He was very lucky to just, I mean, it
now I know you're in a big hurry to get this thing restarted.
That's the racer.
But if I'm Ryan Hunter-Reay, I'm not liking this one bit. I'm like, hey, well, it's going to take a long time. And of course, if you're Marco Andretti, you're pulling for the safety crew and the cleanup crew right now. I mean, it's. You know, Ryan has done a really nice job today. He's really kept
a lot of safety vehicles around there.
He hasn't put a wheel off.
I've got this Jekyll and Hyde existence here where I'm a racing driver one weekend and I'm a race fan the next. And right now I want them to yank that thing out of the way and let's go 1 to green, baby. Come on.
There is one-time leader, Will Power, who led a very good portion of laps early in this race. In fact, 15 to be precise. And then an unforced error took the lead away, and if you haven't seen it, this is what happened.
Yeah, and that left front locked up just a tiny bit, just enough where it would stop turning.
Then his teammate Helio Castroneves suffered woes as well.
And you know, it's funny, if you watch the right front tire guy, he almost went down there to change the tire. Well, wait a minute, you're the wrong guy.
So he knocked on the wrong door there, and his house was one up. And then this is the third Team Penske member. The PPG entry one, Pablo Montoya, who just got loose and slapped one way, the other way, and then sent him into the gravel trap. So it's been a frustrating day for the captain's boys.
Now 3:20 to go. We could get 2 more laps, well, maybe 1 more lap of yellow here, but what a day it's been. I mean, so fortunate in a way as race fans to see this rain come and go, the lines start wet, dry up. Been very dynamic, but gosh, I can't get over how strong Hunter-Reay is after a bad weekend. You know, again, the last several years, whether it was a mechanical, a fault of his own, a fault of somebody else's, he always bounced back with a vengeance and just so dominant today. Jan?
You may have heard through the field, easy for me to say, Marco Andretti, I said that during that pit stop they were trying to reconnect the radio. They weren't sure if they were successful. Well, there is a new rule in the rule book that you must at all times have radio communication. That's why they took the time. during this caution, because of the crash, Marco was able to get that reconnected in the car. Otherwise, he would have been pulled out of second place and onto pit road.
Well, how would they know that he doesn't have radio communication? I wonder.
They can listen into all the channels. So if they call and they hear and he doesn't reply, or vice versa, that's the test.
And there has not been a Andretti Autosport 1-2 since James Hinchcliffe and Ryan Hunter-Reay in Iowa last year. So nice way to turn things around for Marco Andretti after starting the season at St. Pete with a big collision, hurt his wrist, got knocked out of the race.
I can see you shaking your head, Wally, when you see.
Well, we had a little bet going on.
That crane with the tires. I'm like, oh, they can pull this off. We can go green, and you're shaking your head like, no way.
I don't think so. So this one will finish as is. And if you were with us a couple of weeks ago at the 40th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, we just saw a shot of Michael Andretti. He was extremely frustrated. So too Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden after that incident late in the race. Today, though, it'll be celebration times for Michael Andretti and his organization. This guy is one of the busiest men in motorsport with this, Indy Lights, Mazda Road to Indy, USF 2000. He's got Global Rallycross, Formula E. Andretti Autosport is a massive organization.
And a race promoter. Let's not forget,
yeah, exactly.
They've got Milwaukee, they've got Toronto, St. Pete. I mean, it's full time for these guys.
So for Ryan Hunter-Reay, I just want to, while we got the time, I want to read this out to you because in the first race here in 2010, he finished 12th. In 2011, he finished 14th. In 2012, he finished 12th. And then he's gone win. No, I'll just bypass the podium and go straight to the top step on it. That's what Michael Andretti was hoping for. It could very well have been back-to-back wins in the rounds 2 and 3 here, but he'll take this one.
And I think even more importantly is the Marcos run today. Those guys really needed, they seemed like they were struggling a little bit, certainly on Friday, and Marcos had a really good drive today.
So it's not the way that we would like a motorsport event to finish, under caution, but it's not by choice. Mikhail Aloshin crashing very close to the end of this time-certain event to get that DHL Honda cruising now to victory lane and to the checkered flag. The second year in a row, Ryan Hunter-Reay sees that flag first. And for him, as far as the championship is concerned, that's huge. He's beaten the points leader, Will Power. He's beaten Elio Castro-Neves, who's ahead of him. He's beaten Simon Pagenaud, who's ahead of him. Now remember, coming up, the Stanley Cup playoffs continue here on Nbcsn. The Ducks versus the Stars, Anaheim Ducks, Dallas Stars coming up as soon as we're done here from Barber Motorsports Park. That's just in a little over 10 minutes, bottom of the hour. Here it is.
Great to get a win at the last weekend.
Great.
Hell of a drive, buddy. Hell of a drive. 1-2 finish. 1-2 finish.
It is checkered flag time for Ryan Hunter-Reay, second year in a row. He repeats what Will Power did in 2011-2012. It's RHR in 2013-2014. Andretti Autosport 1-2.
Awesome born today, Ryan. Way to go. That was perfect. Awesome.
Jan?
And Michael, you had a 1-2 situation at Long Beach. We know what happened there, but what a turnaround and a great day for your whole team.
Man, I'm really proud of this whole team. You know, Marco did a hell of a job. I mean, he drove his way to the front there, and proud of Ryan. He just drove a perfect race, so feels good after the last one for sure.
And today, patience was obviously a virtue because Will Power looked like he had it handled, and Ryan held back. Did you guys discuss that strategy?
No, not really. I mean, it just played out that way, and you know, we were lucky Will made that mistake, and that gave us the track position, which is always important. And then just the way everything fell with the rain, the way it came down, and I mean the way it dried out and everything, it just came to us. So it was a good day.
Definitely a great turnaround after Long Beach. The whole team obviously elated. A fantastic job for these two guys, and of course, what kudos from Marco Andretti. Nice job.
No better feeling as a driver to be the first one back in pit lane, heading to the top step of the podium. And as a team owner, like Michael Andretti, is no better feeling than to have a team 1-2. Ryan Hunter-Reay did this a year ago. He knows what it feels like. And that was a superb performance. Yes, Will Power gifted him the lead early in the race, but then he didn't look back. Fantastic performance, big championship implications there too. And what a way to respond after crashing out in spectacular style 2 weeks ago in California. Ryan Hunter-Reay picks up his 12th IndyCar career victory on an incredibly eventful day. And there's Michael Andretti, the legend himself, congratulating his key man. What a relationship they've built up over the years.
And we thought he was going to be good to go through, but then he had to stop again too. So it's not just us full Kate, if that makes you feel.
And it's time to celebrate. There's Becky and Ryden, their son, ready to celebrate with Dad.
I'm not saying that he probably had some good food service from where he was watching.
It was a long day with the weather delay to get to that, but it's worth it. Kev?
With his little boy riding here in Victory Lane, Becky is here, his wife, hugs from the crew. Ryan Hunter-Reay, for the second consecutive year, is a winner here at Barber Motorsports Park. You had a winning car, coulda, shoulda won at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. How anxious have you been to get back in the car and have another chance?
I've been anxious since we left Long Beach, but always anxious. This is what it's all about. This is why we do it, and that was such a blast today. It's a bummer we ended under yellow because, man, we were walking it, and what a dream to drive a car like that in conditions like that. Great to get the number 28 DHL Honda up front. We won with a Honda at a Honda race. It's just, it's awesome. And the big thanks to United Fiber Data for all their support. You know, last weekend should have been a great result, but we got it this weekend. So Firestone put on an amazing job today with the wets, going to the blacks, going to the reds. It was phenomenal.
You know, we talked about patience with your boss, Michael, a little while ago. One of the big moves in the race was with your teammate earlier when you went from third to second after that first restart.
Yeah, I mean, you know, going for it for sure, but it's always good racing with James. You know, we always have good, clean racing, and I just had a blast out there today. The race started to drag on a little bit there at the end when we were out there by ourselves, but you know, with the rain delay, things were kind of iffy today, and we got to start in the wet. It was tough for everybody today.
How challenging was it when you went to the slicks?
Oh, that was ridiculous. Yeah, that was horrible for everybody. It was like on an ice skating rink with sneakers, and but we brought it through. You know, the track started drying as we went, but it's just so awesome to see this car again in Victory Lane.
It's early, but you're up to second in the championship, 18 points now behind Will Power. For the second year in a row, Ryan Hunter-Reay wins here in Birmingham. Kelly?
Kevin, another big mover in the point standings is Marco Andretti. He finishes runner-up today, and Marco, feeling a lot of pressure, I imagine, from Scott Dixon behind you. How'd you hold him off there at the end?
I'll just put my head down and look forward. You know, awesome job to Andretti Autosport. You know, the Snapple car didn't have much for the DHL car, so we need to definitely hit the drawing board and see how he kicked my butt today. But I think, you know, heck of a team effort. Just I was driving blind today. I didn't have a radio, and so the only way I knew how to pit, I knew when to pit, was out of the corner of my eye. I saw Ryan stop, so I'm like, I guess I'm coming in the next lap. So it was a blind race, but I just had my head down and tried to hit my marks.
How important was patience in this race, particularly early on when it was really wet?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was, you know, I could have very easily been one of the cars that didn't finish. I mean, we had a lot of moments. I'm not sure you guys had my onboard, but it was pretty fun.
Not expect to see a move like that, a mistake, I should say, from Will Power. What did you think as you guys advanced by?
He's human. He's beatable.
All right, thank you, Marco.
Marco Andretti with a very valuable and important and morale-boosting podium. And again, an Andretti Autosport 1-2. Reminder, Stanley Cup playoffs coming up when we're done here. When we return, more interviews and the wrap from the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Young Ryan Hunter-Reay will watch this many times in his life. High-fiving Dad in Victory Lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay, the winner of the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, and that certainly helps him in the championship points. Great result, 1-2 for Andretti Autosport, and Scott Dixon finishing third. Pagenaud was solid. Will Power, I think he'll review this as a day that got away. And Tony Kanaan, the Indy 500 winner, the defending Indy 500 man, going from 23rd to 9th. What a day for TK and also Charlie Kimball. But how about one of our podium men? Let's hear from Scott Dixon.
And for Scott Dixon, it sounds kind of funny to say this is his worst finish here, being third after having finished every other year second. But it seemed to me that you had a great pit stop, you were right on Marco, but then you started to back up. What happened?
Yeah, you know, the race was actually really fun. You know, I think with the wet conditions, there was a little bit of puddling and standing water, which made it, you know, pretty tough, especially in the fast sections around the back. But you know, it was one of those races where, you know, at the start of it, you just had to make sure that you kept it clean and stayed out of trouble. I think Elio got a bit greedy on that restart there and jumped us, which was a little bit frustrating because he sort of backed us up. But it was fun to race with Montoya there. He's making some pretty good turns there, you know, onto the front straight. But yeah, we tried to, you know, pull as much as we could out of it, and then kind of just burnt the front tires off the thing, trying to push so hard. And you know, congratulations to Hunter Ray, and good job by Marco. It was a you know, stand-up job, but I think more importantly, big thanks to the fans that all stuck it out in this weather.
Well, congratulations. It's some good, valuable point-paying day for you.
Thanks, man.
Another solid top 5 finish for Simon Pagenaud. He's now 3rd in the points, and Simon, you started 10th. Given the conditions, given that this is a difficult track to pass on, is this a success?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a lot of fun, especially if you watch the onboard. I mean, the start was incredible, very treacherous and very wet also. It was very difficult to see. We had a little moment with Montoya at the start, and that got us back to 13th, I think. But the SPM team did a great job. The car was super fast, and I believe, you know, the Honda power really helps us in those conditions. And hats off to them, because the car was really, really fast today.
The conditions certainly changed, though, from very wet and it dried out quite a bit. How was this team able to make the right adjustments to adapt to those conditions?
Well, I don't know if we made any adjustment. The car was really good. So I just said, it's good, don't change it. But, you know, the car was really good all race, good front grip, good rear grip. The red Firestone tires worked really well for us. And on the wet tires, the car was really good at the start of the race. So I had a lot of confidence going, and I just wanted to go forward. You know, we missed qualifying, so I really wanted to go forward. And I think, you know, it's a good start of the season for us.
Another solid day for the 77. Thank you, Simon.
Showing consistency that can win championships, but boy, isn't Ryan Hunter-Ray on a roll. There he is, post-race media commitments and celebrations. It's a day for RHR. When we come back to Barber Motorsports Park, we'll wrap things up and then get you off to Dallas for the hockey.
For the 2nd consecutive year, Ryan Hunter-Ray has won here at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham. The point leader, though, is still Will Power, and it looked like in the wet you were going to check out. What happened when you had the off there in turn 5?
Just locked up. Once you lock a wheel in the wet, you just go straight. But that was all right. We had a big enough lead to only lose 1 position. But man, I missed that wall. I thought I was getting that wall there. Missed it by an inch, I reckon. Yeah, I mean, we just didn't have the pace in the dry. I think maybe it's a little heavy on downforce, but it was, yeah, the half dry, half wet condition, we kind of struggled.
Thanks for hanging out. Still a 5th place result, and still the championship leader by 18. That's Will Power.
And that was a lucky escape. Speaking of the championship points after 3 rounds, let's take a look. There's that 18-point margin. Hunter-Ray now 2nd. Pagenaud, the consistency is amazing. Dixon jumps up to 4th as well, and Marco Andretti will be pleased with that to sit in 6th spot, and Castro Neves drops a couple. So things are changing, but Power remains on top as we head into the month of May for the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, the road course race at the Speedway before the 500. Stay with us. Anaheim-Dallas game is coming up right after this. The Verizon IndyCar Series continues on ABC with the Grand Prix of Indy, Saturday, May 10 at 3:30 Eastern. And we'll be back on Friday, May 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern to bring you all the action from Carb Day from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For all you need to know about the Verizon IndyCar Series, be sure to log on to NBCSports.com. What a day it was, with the rain, the lightning, the wet track, and then finally a back-to-back winner. We congratulate Ryan Hunter-Ray, back-to-back wins. For now, we take you to the hockey in Dallas. See you soon.